We're back at St James's in Audley church. We came a few months ago and the graveyard was in a state, so we've come back to see if there's been any improvement. We did advise the vicar of what could be done, so let's go and investigate. We're approaching what you'd consider the main graveyard, and oh hell, nothing has improved on this part of the graveyard at least. It must be 5-6 foot of grass. One of the main concerns is always health and safety, because if you want to get to some of these graves you can't, and if you want to place flowers on any of these graves you can't. But strangely there's that, and we come to the bottom bit where it seems a bit better. Whether we're only dealing with new graves and keeping those alright and leaving the old graves to rack and ruin, we shall investigate further. We're a bit further down in the graveyard and you can see that a lot of the graves are still not accessible. Glad to see actually that the war graves, whether the War Graves Commission's doing this or the local church or somebody else, I don't know, but the war graves are supposed to be accessible at any time, and with Armed Forces Day any day soon, it's glad to see at least they are alright. We've got a path down here that somebody's had a go at. I don't know whose grave this is, we'll have a look. Yeah, from 1984, somebody's taken the time and trouble to look after this one. The rest are just unreachable. Right down the bottom, and I've had to fight my way down. There's still graves like there that are rapidly disappearing. And at 74 to actually get down here is fairly dangerous. This grave is from the 1950s. There's a really old one from 1911. Well, this bottom part is an absolute nightmare. It's such a wonderful view here, and could be such a beautiful place. I was just saying about the war graves, we found one here, and if I can get to it, because I'm up to my waist in grass. This is something certainly the War Graves Commission can have a look at. Now deeper in the jungle, you can see the grass is higher than me. There's a grave here from, you actually get to see it, 2004, 2006 and 2011. There's another one there which is totally under. Somebody's had a bit of a path here, so whether there's something of interest. You can see the state. Now it's supposed to be the council's responsibility. We found another war grave, if I can get to it. And certainly as a war grave this isn't accessible, although perhaps you could get to it from the other side. So this is the area we're getting to from the bottom, where this is, I wouldn't say first class. Well, certainly you can sort of get to a lot of the graves. And another war grave over there, because there should be 10. Can we get to this one okay? There's a bit of a path. The stone at the bottom's been destroyed. This is from 1941. There is sort of a rough path through, but we've still got a lot more war graves to find yet. Further down I'm still in the jungle. Of course there's a high risk of this with dry weather. If any of this catches alight, it could be very dangerous. What we come on to now, that when I came before, one of the recommendations I made was to get some sheep, and lo and behold we have sheep. So whether they're just moving the little barrier they've got round and round, or whether they're letting them loose, I don't know, but at least they've taken some of the advice. It's going to want a lot more sheep than what we've got here, because it's still far from satisfactory. They all seem quite happy jumping away here. Well, they want it moving and eating some more. Again, just past the sheep we come across some really old magnificent graves, 1907, 1912. And to get to out these you can see that I've got to hack my way through. I've got to remember that these were people that probably did a lot for the church back in the day. And now if you want to get to the grave and remember them, we've got weeds here higher than me. You can actually get 1898. Some really old graves, and a lot of people now want to visit these graves because we find out they're long lost ancestors. Managed to hack my way down. I'm almost at the bottom of the graveyard, and looking up you can see that a lot of the graves you can barely see. It being a church, anybody buried here would normally be from the church, so they're not looking after their own very well. I mean, one of the main concerns is health and safety. Under health and safety, surely to God, you know, people entitled to come here, they may be wanting to visit this grave because it's a relation, and if they get hurt then there could be a big claim. I have a dividing wall between the old, which you can see the state of, and this is fairly new, 2001 there. Well, these are sort of up to date, 1989, 1989. Still graves that People are still putting flowers on, but even to get to this, it's an absolute nightmare. Here's one from 2006, 1989. It's two gentlemen who just arrived to see to his wife's grave. He actually trims it himself. But, I mean, there's another one here from 1955, 1986. Obviously well looked after. Someone's put stones around it. Fresh flowers. Another one, somebody's really gone to town. This is from 1985. All nice stones, all nice round breeze blocks. Why the standard's so low? If you go on Google Maps and look at the photos I've taken of Audley, you can play bowls on the graves there. It's that well kept, it really is. So why we have to have this sort of standard? There can be no excuses. You just spot the difference. Two graves there, very well kept, new flowers on it. That's from 1995, and the one next to it's 1995, and obviously they come and trim it, and you've got graves next to it or you break your neck. Again, another one here. Nice wildflowers, flowers trimmed round it. I mean, the churches will argue it's your grave, you look after it, but now they're shooting me. I mean, they've got a moral and legal responsibility to make the place safe. A bit further around, there's sort of a little area separate, and there's quite a nice monument there. And this grave, now this grave is really well kept, as is the grass around it. This is the standard that all graves should be. And the church, or people will argue, well, yeah, it's whoever's looking after the grave, not the church's responsibility, but you can see sort of next to it, many of the other graves are, you still can't get to them, even though it's not that bad. To actually walk here, you take your life into your hands. I do like the little mural, street art, whatever you want to call it here. A secret garden. The old pigeon. Quite nice. Taking in the view from above the, right next to the church, and you can see for miles that if it was tidy, you've got a wonderful view. That's a couple of miles away, but certainly wonderful view.